Good night, people. Good night, people. Good night, people. Welcome back to the channel. So we have some shocking updates regarding the hurricane, right? So the government has just confirmed that is almost half of Jamaica is down, meaning that almost half of Jamaica now have no electricity at all. So it's time to come, people, and it's closer than what we think, based off a live updates that the government has provided to us. So if you have seen this video, comment which parish you're from and make we know how the situation is, because based off of what we know, some parishes are getting it rougher than some parish at the moment. And remember, subscribe to the channel because a year so we are post every update.
Reduced in strength by moving over the two land masses, both Jamaica and eastern Cuba. But it will move over southeastern Bahamas and then continue over the Atlantic, possibly moving close to Bermuda all the way out in the Atlantic afterwards.
Check again. So when it comes over the country, you said earlier that it's going to be affected by not being over the waters. But once it comes over our land and goes back into the waters, is it going to then re-energize as it goes towards Cuba?
Yes, that would happen, but as I said, it's really only 90 miles of water, and so the increase may not be that significant before it gets to Cuba, and then it would exit Cuba and then pick up more speed with much more water area than land area as it goes through the Bahamas and over into the Atlantic. It may pick up a little bit more strength, but then it would be again moving into cooler waters at this time where it wouldn't be able to get much stronger. We're not expecting it to again regain Category 5 hurricane force. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. You know, earlier we were doing longitude and latitude, and we heard a word from Evan that I'm not used to hearing, and so I had to look it up using AI, of course, and it was recurvature. He said it many times, recurvature, so I had to look it up. It's a change in the path of a tropical cyclone from a generally west to northwest track. So remember, it was going west, and then it moves then to a northeast or eastward track. So that's what recurvature is. So it was going to the west, but now it's going to turn and go towards the east. So thank you very much for teaching me another meteorological term today and all of Jamaica, that term. And so now we are going to go to the other man of the hour, or Minister of Local Government and Community Development, the man who is responsible for disaster response and who does a tremendous job of it. He is non-stop. He is here through the night, all through the day. Minister Mackenzie, I do not know how you do it, but you continue to serve this country, and we're very grateful for it. And so please tell us where we are with everything under your purview.
Thank you, Minister. You have been doing a good job yourself. Acknowledge my colleague who just walked in. There's a fine for being late. And to acknowledge the members of the support team, the JDF, the police, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the Red Cross, and all the other entities, chairman of the board, members of the media. I want to start off by giving some updates as it relates to the operations of a Jamaica Public Service Company. And as you have been told by Mr. Thompson, that the southern part of the island is experiencing some challenges as we speak. Now, this update that has been provided to our center downstairs, and I want to make the point that all the information that is pertinent to the ongoing hurricane comes directly out of the ODPEM. So when we give the information, it is not hearsay or faked information. It is the information that has been gathered by the team, and each entity, for instance, all the utilities are here both telephone, water, and light. So when we speak with a certain level of authority. A total of some 50,000 persons are without light in the following parishes as we speak: Portland, St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, Manchester. Approximately 40,000 persons in the western end of the island are presently without power. And there are 4,000 in the eastern part of the island and another 5,000 without light in central Jamaica. Transmission lines are out in Magati and Porous as a result of down power lines and poles in some instances. The Jamaica Fire Brigade report a number of trees in some areas they have received reports and they have a team out there removing the fallen trees, and with support in some instances from members of the community. You remember earlier this morning the Prime Minister did indicate that the National Solid Waste Management Authority is on the road, and they are a part of that team island-wide that is helping to remove fallen trees right across the island. The Red Cross reported that at Veer Technical High School, approximately 300 persons are at the shelter, and the concerns that we have is that in short order, and I guess by now, the shelter would have reached its maximum capacity, and steps are being made to house persons seeking shelter at a different location. Just want to again remind persons going to our shelters to take your medication, walk with some biscuit for the first couple of hours, some water to make yourselves comfortable. And it is important that your personal documents, important documents, are well secured. The issue of shelters, ladies and gentlemen, Jamaicans, has become more pronounced because during our briefing meeting with the ODPEM and various persons, it was brought to my attention that the new wing of a transitional center at King Street, the Desmond Mackenzie Center, we'll have to activate that because the work of the police and the team on the ground has brought in more persons off the streets in the shelters, and that is very commendable. We are seeing an increase over the last couple of hours of persons responding and have gone into the shelters, which is good, but we still have a few that is still out on the road. I want to address some concerns around shelters that was brought to our attention concerning the Myersville area in southeast St. Elizabeth, and the fact that complaints were made about those shelters. I want to make it clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the shelters are provided for the needs of those who want to go to the shelters. There are no other considerations that are given when we open the shelters. So I don't want anybody to create the narrative that you have to be aligned one way or the other to access the shelters. And there seems to be some concerns raised about the operations of these shelters. So I want to advise that all the shelters in Southwest St. Elizabeth, the Myersville Division, are in operation, and the Southeast, and that they have been provided with the requisite items to afford for the smooth operation of the shelters. We are in constant touch with our shelter managers across the island, and I know, and I want to say this, as soon as the conditions start to deteriorate in certain areas, the difficulty is going to show in making contact in the way that we would want the contact to be made. We have a very effective radio telecommunication system which is manned by the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and that system is up and running. It is a part of the JICA program that the government of Japan and the government of Jamaica has put in and has made us very efficient, and it is a system that the police has tied in, and all the major stakeholders across the country has access to the system. So our shelters are up and running, and I want to say to Jamaicans that I'm encouraging you still, you still have a little window to go into the shelters because it is important. There are also complaints about Ocho-Rios-I. That matter has been dealt with. And I want to thank the many concerned Jamaicans who continue to send me messages about the operations of shelters. And I really want to thank them and say how much it is appreciated. I gave an update this morning on the state of our shelters. And I did indicate that of the 880 odd shelters, so far 133 shelters are in operation. The shelters are available, but so far only 133 of these shelters are fully operated with persons in there. The parishes of St. Mary, St. Anne, and Hanover are still 3 parishes that have no one in any of the shelters. The shelters in Hanover should be seeing people now, because based on Evan's forecast, places like Lucy, Chester Castle, other areas will face challenges, and I want to urge persons in these parishes to get to high ground as quickly as possible. Clarendon continue to lead the way. So far their numbers are 517, St. Catherine 254, St. Thomas 310, Trelawney 156, Portland 295, St. Elizabeth 182. I guess based on the other information coming in, that we will see an increase in the numbers of Jamaicans going to the shelters. As I said earlier on today, it is anticipated that more than 40 to 50,000 Jamaicans will be evacuated from certain areas, and we are expecting that number to grow. I want to again emphasize the importance of sticking to genuine information. Almost every minute now, there is something out there in social media that has nothing to do with what is taking place. There is concerns that persons who genuinely wants to go to shelters are being convinced by others that it makes no sense that they go to the shelters. And many people have been told that you are safer at home than in our shelters. My first experience of a major hurricane at this level was Matthew in 2016, just shortly after I became the minister. And it was a testing time. Fortunately, Matthew changed course. But over the years, we have developed a system to improve the quality of our shelters. And I will not deny that some of our shelters might not meet the expectations of Jamaicans. I have said it before, the shelters are not a 5-star hotel. 90% of our shelters are schools, which were not really built for that purpose. And over the years, we have converted some of our shelters, some of the schools, into proper shelters. And we'll be rolling out over the next couple of years, starting next year, to improve on our shelters, because we are looking at the changes that are taking place in terms of our climate-related issues. And therefore, as a country, as a government, we have to move and we have to make the kind of investment that will ensure that our citizens are comfortable in what we say and will respond to the issues when it arises. So, am I feeling better? Still not feeling better. When I look at Westmoreland, again, here's a parish that flooding is the norm. Now we are expecting excess rainfall, record high rainfall. So it means that flooding will become an issue. There's a community in Westmoreland, McNeil Lands, which for me is a major issue. And if anybody there is listening, I want to urge persons, to encourage you to leave these areas and find a place where you will be safer. It makes no sense. And in closing, I want to, again, as I have been doing since these briefings have started, it is better to take that step than to pay that price. Don't worth it. This government is committed to work with every single Jamaican after the passage of Melissa to help to restore your way of life, to rebuild. The Prime Minister spoke about the various layers of insurance and coverage that an understanding government has put in place over the last 4 years to secure the Jamaican people. And when we meet after these meetings, we look at the way forward. Already we are starting to look at how are we now going to deal with the level of investigation that needs to be done to deal with the issues that will arise following burial. I want to thank the people who are working, the police, the fire brigade, the army, our disaster coordinators, our members of parliament, our councillors, and I want to say this. I am happy that as a government we recognize the role of the opposition and have engaged the opposition in discussions around the programs that is being undertaken by the government in a response. And we have been open, we have been clear, and if we are wrong, we are bold enough to say we are wrong. But all the decisions that we have taken to safeguard the Jamaican people, we stand by those decisions. It is the Jamaican people that have to work with us now to ensure that we minimize as best as we can whatever the outcome is. Thank you.